Hello, everybody, and welcome to Rico 12. Just as you were getting used to me stumbling and bumbling through Justin's podcast, it's my last week filling in for him while he's recharging his batteries on vacation. My name is Silvio, and I'm an addict. Rico 12 is all about exploring the common threads of addiction and sharing tools and hope from those on a similar path. We gather from diverse backgrounds, faiths, and places to learn and support one another. Our speakers represent various fellowships, addictions, and afflictions, thus showing the common threads of recovery, no matter our addiction or affliction. Today's speaker for the 267th meeting is Alex P. from London. It's Alex's first time sharing on Rico 12, and I really value Alex as part of my God squad, and I'm excited to hear his experience, strength, and hope today on his topic, spiritual bypass. We'll get to his talk and the Q&A afterwards in just a minute. First, for some business. Rico 12 has several recovery resources in our family of podcasts and social media communities. To learn more, listen more, connect more, just hang out and learn and grow with us, you can check out the other podcasts in the show notes or by going to rico12.com and exploring them there. And for the last time, still with Justin's permission, there's also my recovery podcast called 12 Steps and 12 Questions. So lots of pods here for your recovery. Rico 12 is self-supporting, and your contributions help us to continue our mission. If you'd like to support Rico 12 and become a spearhead, visit rico12.com/support or click on the links in the show notes and chat for one-time or monthly donation options. Your support makes a difference in keeping us sharing our message of recovery. We look forward each meeting to receiving from the light reflected from our speakers. That light inspires hope, meaning, worth, and growth in us, the listening audience. Now, let's introduce our guest speaker for today, Alex P., and give a little background on him. Alex has been a member of Cocaine Anonymous since January 2022. He's sponsored and is the GSR of Wednesday afternoon's online meeting, Hind Street, The Parlor. While he considers his main fellowship to be CA, Alex supplements his recovery by attending a range of 12-step fellowships such as AA, ACA, CMA, and NA. Alex's favorite thing he has heard in the rooms is, some people want recovery and some people need recovery, but the only ones that get it are the ones that do it, which is so brilliant. Thank you so much, Alex, for being here. Take it away. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Silvio, and good morning and afternoon and good night to wherever you are to everyone on the meeting. My name is Alex and I'm an addict. I'm very happy to be here today, both on this meeting and just generally sober and alive, because every day that I have sober truly is a miracle that I can't thank myself for, and I can only thank my higher power, who I call God, and all of the wonderful fellows that I've met in my 2 and just a little bit more than a half year since I came into the rooms. My sobriety date is the 14th of January 2022. And that's also my dad's birthday. So it's nice for him now that when a sober birthday rolls around, I can give him a chip. But you can imagine on that first day, it wasn't a very nice birthday for him. So it makes me happy that I can, for the last couple of years, I've been able to give him a chip instead of stress, which is what I kind of brought to him and many other people in my life when I was actively drinking and using any drug that you kind of like put in front of me. When I was asked to come along today, I obviously was asked kind of what topic I would like to share on. And a thing that has been pretty prevalent and keeps coming up for me, I would say over the last 4 months, has been this idea of spiritual bypass. I'd never heard about it before, but funnily enough, when we go to meetings and we're sitting with people with like-minded experience or similar experience to ours, or reading from literature that was written by people who suffer with what we suffer with, funnily enough, things come out of those meetings and those experiences that perfectly reflect what's going on for me in that moment. And that's what happened a couple of months ago when I went to a meeting on spiritual bypass. And it's this idea that as we move through our recovery, when we've come into the rooms, hopefully we're in a position where we're broken enough that we can listen and we actually want to change, that our ego can crack enough to maybe let the light of a higher power, or God can creep through into our lives, and through a process of working the steps, getting commitments, having fellowship with our fellows, we begin to heal, and we begin to clear up the wreckage of our past, and eventually get to a point where we're able to grow spiritually and help other people. That's what happened for me. And I would say for the first year and a half of my recovery, it was a pretty strong upward trend. I came in really broken. I tried recovery before, but I didn't really. Well, I tried 12-step recovery in the past, but it wasn't the right time for me. I didn't think meetings were the right place for me. And so I went back out and used my drugs of choice, which at the time were a mixture of cocaine and crystal meth, but alcohol was always part of the story. So I was using people, anything I can get my hands on to try and change the way I feel, to change the way that I feel. I did. I wasn't ready when I came in 2022 at the start. I was ready, and I'd say for about a year and a half I had a pretty nice upward trend. A couple of bumps here and there, arguments with sponsors, pretty normal, kind of not understanding that maybe my ideas aren't the best ideas, and I should listen to someone else's advice. A whole process of handing over my will to something greater than myself, I wasn't a massive fan of, but I wanted to be sober more than I wanted to be right. And if that meant listening to other people, or even believing in a God that I'd never believed in, then I was going to do it, and I did it, and life got a lot better. At some point, however, I feel as though, well, I can see in my inventory and by speaking to other fellows, that at some point I had this notion that by going through the steps and giving up drink and drugs, that in some way I deserved a life that was without pain. I deserved a life that was going to be easy. Everyone told me that it wasn't, that going through the steps, it's not going to get you it's going to promise you a life that's better than drinking and using, and a life that's free from the tyranny and the pain of drink and drugs. But I, somewhere in my head, had got that message twisted, and I'd found that I really did have this idea that that I was never going to have problems. I was never going to be disappointed if I worked my program hard enough, if I worked with other people, if I just prayed hard enough, that I wouldn't ever feel pain or find life disappointing. Which was quite a painful place to be, and that's what I've experienced as spiritual bypass. I think that I can pray my problems away without an action, or I think that I can make difficult periods in my life go faster because I'm part of, I have a spiritual program that I practice on a daily basis. And it's been very humbling to realize that that isn't actually the case. It truly is a day at a time. When we come into these rooms, there's a flat structure here. No one is above anyone else. The only difference between someone who's using right now, a newcomer with 1 day of sobriety, or someone with 20 years, the only difference is that that person with 20 years just happens to have been doing some recovery stuff a little bit longer than the other. But we all still suffer with the disease of alcoholism or addiction that manifests itself as this problem, disease that lives in my mind, and that when I take a drink or a drug to get rid of that spiritual malady, that obsession, that disease in the mind creates, I can't stop. I've got no power. I've got no control until I pass out. I'm stopped by someone, or I'm arrested, or whatever your story is. I do not believe. I didn't believe for a time that that was true. I kind of thought, oh, people that have been around for 20 years, surely at some point they just get it. They don't have hard days. But me at 2.5 years, I'm really having to practice some humility that I actually haven't learned a lot in the last 2.5 years. In fact, there's so much that I don't know, and I need to remain honest, open-minded, willing. I need to hand my will over on a daily basis. No, not even a daily basis, on an hourly basis, sometimes by the minute, because I take my will back and I try and make things happen where it's not my place to make things happen. I think I've tried to make myself the director of my show again recently, and that's what I'm struggling with at the moment. I've talking to you all now. I'm in a position currently where I've got my mum, who is an alcoholic, who is in hospital. She fell and she had an accident a couple of weeks ago, and she's been dealing with a bleed on her brain. And she's going to live, she's going to be fine, but it's what I would normally do, and what I did ever since I was a kid, was I would do everything I could to try and make her better and try and fix her and try and heal her. And it doesn't work. There's nothing that I can do to change the way that she is, or try and make her actions less painful for me. So I'm now in a new place, thanks to recovery, where I'm able to look at my people pleasing. I'm able to look at the fact that she's in hospital and she needs a little bit of help. And instead of me going, I'm going to give up everything in my life and I'm going to go and try and help you and I'm going to make you better and I'm going to fix you in some way, I realize that by doing that, I actually make myself sick. It makes me very unwell. I put myself in a lot of pain when I decide to go and do that. And I don't want to be in pain anymore. I don't want to go through that pattern of self-harm. So I'm now practicing some boundaries with her. And I'm saying, unfortunately, I can't help. I need to stay here and look after myself. I know what I'm capable of in that regard, and I know what I'm not. But it's hard, and it's getting to me a little bit at the moment. But coming back to spiritual bypass, I think I would much rather be in the position that I am today, where I accept that I am not going to feel better in a day. I know I can't ask for that. I know that what I can ask for is another day clean and sober by praying, meditating, looking at my behavior, talking with other fellows, attending meetings. And that has been true. And I know that if I do that enough days in a row, well, my experience tells me that one day I will wake up and I will feel maybe not 100% better, but at least a little bit better than the day before. And if I can just compare a little bit about what my life is like now versus what my life was like when I was using, now I'm very comfortable in work, in my personal relationships, in all of my affairs, to not try and pretend that I'm 100% okay, that things are a little bit difficult for me at the moment. I might need to approach work or engagements with friends or with other members of my family. I might need to go a little bit more slowly so that I'm not trying to jump from one person to another person to engage in conversation to try and find those people exciting. So I'm trying to ignore the way that I feel. I'm trying to just go a little bit more slowly these days. And I would much rather that than what I used to do, which would be to think I just cannot deal with the way that I'm feeling, with the responsibility that's being put on me right now, and run to the closest store, to the closest bar to get completely loaded. one thing that always sticks in my mind from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous is that we are maladapted to life. And I do feel like that sometimes. I'd feel like that all the time. I feel like I, as an alcoholic and as a drug addict, that my feelings are a little bit too big to be in this big, wide, horrible world. And when I don't have a solution or some good orderly direction on how I should conduct myself, if I don't have a sponsor or fellows that I can check my thinking against, then my best idea is to go and get loaded and then to go and find the closest drug dealer, ask them for whatever they've got, and ignore all of the responsibilities that I have in my life, and then and be out for about 5 days, 7 days, using sex or using relationships or nightclubs or film or whatever it is to escape the pain that I feel. And even if I feel a little bit uncomfortable today, my God, I'm so much happier that I'm here feeling a little bit uncomfortable and a little bit sad, as opposed to being in what the closest I ever want to get to hell. So despite my somewhat somber tone, please don't misunderstand me when I say I am so filled with gratitude for my life. I am so filled with hope for myself and for other people when I see newcomers jump into a 12-step fellowship with both feet and experience a truly miraculous change in their lives. I'm a very happy customer of what is on offer here, and I wouldn't change it for the world. But more than that, I can't believe that it's free. It's absolutely incredible to me that questions I'd wanted answering my whole life about, why do I feel different to other people? Why do I feel like other people can skate through life in a way that I can't? Why do I feel? Why do I make myself out to be a victim? A lot of these questions that come up with trying to understand oneself and trying to understand other people, I could never find the answers to these questions in through conversations with my friends or in books. And it's because I was looking in all the wrong places. I often think about that statement of frothy emotional appeal doesn't suffice when trying to talk to an alcoholic or a drug addict about their problem. If I'm experiencing, whenever I was crying about my feelings or kind of like, I've done something stupid when I was drunk, and I'd be complaining to a friend about how it's because I'm fat and nobody loves me, and everyone else gets all of the opportunities and it's so unfair. They tell me all the right things that friends are supposed to say. They'd say, you're beautiful, you're all of, you're good, you're kind, you're this, you're that, and it would just go over my head, land to the left of me, and go round me. It would never hit home. But when somebody was able, well, one, when I was in a position to listen because I was broken enough, and two, when someone sat me down and said, you are sick. It's not your fault. In fact, there's nothing actually wrong with you as a person. You just happen to have this disease, and it lives in your mind. There's an allergy, and there is a way out. Other people have done it. And when I say other people, I mean, hundreds of thousands. I don't have the facts and figures. I feel like Silvio might have the facts and figures, but I don't. But I'd feel brave to even say millions of people have been able to, find a normal way of living by doing the 12 steps. I have somewhat lost my train of thought, but that's also okay. I try not to give myself a hard time and punish myself anymore in recovery. I'm not very good at giving myself a easier time all of the time, but I'm better than I used to be. I suppose there are there are a few things I am I really want to add. I think I'm coming to the end of my share just because in this program it's been taught to me that it's always best to be honest. You know, I don't feel like I'm in the best state of mind today, but when someone has asked you to do service, I jump and I say yes without a second's thought. And I feel better for coming along today and sharing. Maybe somebody has got something from my rambling today. But yeah, it's most important for me to be honest and at least try to help. And I'm keeping it simple at the moment. When someone says, how do you get sober? The answer really is how. Honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. And even if I haven't done an absolutely fantastic job, I've done my best with that. So I think I will leave it there. And hand it over back to you, Silvio.
Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you for your share. I absolutely love the fact that you've allowed us to be part of your vulnerability, right? Just like you, I don't think we should be misleading anybody that we still have tough days. Of course we do in recovery. There is no guarantee. We'll get into that a little bit in a moment. But what you said, that there's no guarantee that we're not promised a life without pain. I thought that was so brilliant how you pointed that out. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for your share. Just a quick reminder to our live audience here, if you have a question for Alex, please type them in the chat of the meeting. And if you wish to remain anonymous, not have me read out your first name, please make a note of that in your question. So, Alex, as I said, I really love that you've let us be part of your vulnerability. I think we've all been, if you've been in the fellowship for a while, we will all have been in that situation that you've committed to do service, you're committed to speaking somewhere, and something quote unquote goes wrong, right? It's an experience we've all had, and to still come along and share your message and is wonderful. I have noticed this with me as well, and some of the things that stuck out and that really got me interested was you said, one of the things that you said were that you were not a massive fan of handing over your will. This is a little bit earlier on. Now, that sounds very familiar to me. And the fact that step 3 is something that needs to be done on a daily basis wasn't all that clear to me, although I'm sure that it was made clear, but it didn't really land. Talk to us a little bit, if you don't mind, about your experience there at that time of when you started learning that, okay, it's not a one-off deal. I need to do this all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes in the rooms, I hear people say like, "Oh, I didn't have one of these massive step 3 experiences. I was one of the annoying people that was lucky enough to have a beautiful step 3 experience." I'd always been a lifelong atheist. My dad's a doctor, and my mum is. She likes to say that she's quite a clever person. Both of them not believing in anything other than kind of science and reason. And so in our house, it was very much a case of we will focus on debates, we will focus on arguments, and we believe in people. Frankly, kind of, I didn't necessarily look down on religion. Well, I think actually, no, I think we did look down on religion. I think in my home, it was always told that, if you need something kind of like a big story like that, God in the sky, man in the sky, then you're a bit simple. But I think definitely that was our prejudice and ignorance in our house. Because that did me no favors going through our life. And when I was going through treatment, I was lucky enough to go for 28 days in a rehab center. I had someone was able to lay out for me I was able to go through my life story, and I was able to see all of my experience and see that me doing things my way didn't go anywhere. And if I am powerless and my life is unmanageable, is it possible that I can get that power from somewhere else? And if it's possible that I can get that power from someone else, let me try handing my will over to that. So I was willing to go on that journey, and I went to a place where where I'd used heavily. And I sat in a spot and I read the step 3 prayer, I think for about an hour by myself, like in this bush in a park in northwest London. And something happened to me while I was reading that, where I felt like the entire walk there, I'd been carrying stones in my stomach and on my shoulders. And throughout that hour, they just all went away, and I got lighter and lighter and lighter. And ever since that moment, my life has been in God's hands. And so I definitely the benefit of experience to show me that when I sit down and I do my prayers in the morning, that my days are better when God is running the show than when I'm running the show. But I do sneakily kind of take my will back. I had a moment the other day, and I'm actually going to steal this from you, Silvio. Silvio once told me something that really, really made me laugh, where he was talking about, sometimes I feel like I'm playing Serenity Tetris, where, life comes at you and it turns up in all these different ways from all these different locations. And it's like Tetris blocks kind of falling on a screen. And there's like one shape and they can fit in a nice place, but eventually they get faster and they get faster and faster falling. And eventually one doesn't fit and the game is over and you lose. And that happened to me the other day when I was going to somewhere in London. The doors to the train opened, and there were about 30 people that wanted to get on the train. I was the only person getting off. No one moved for me. And for about 5 seconds, me and these like 30 people. They weren't getting on. They weren't making a path. And I entirely lost my serenity. I'd entirely taken my will back. And I screamed at this group of people. And I just I did a gesture with my hands like Moses would part the Red Sea. And I just said, move. And immediately after that, I had just this moment of, there's something not right with you, Alex. There's something really not right with you. And so that was a moment where I thought I need to do some spot inventory and I need to work out what's going on for me. And, it was all things about not feeling in control of my family life. I felt like my emotional security was affected because I might lose my mum and lose my grandma, and I wanted to take that back in some kind of way. My people pleasing wasn't being fed, and so it's now acting out in other ways in my ego and in my psyche. And ultimately, I can understand all of that, but one thing that recovery has taught me is that it's all very well and good to understand what we suffer with, or understand our experience, or understand what's going to happen. It doesn't make a lick of difference unless you do something about it. And so I spoke to my sponsor. I've vowed to be kind on public transport and just kind to people that I don't know generally, as kind of a living amend following that. But I think handing your will over to God is not enough. Some action definitely needs to come after that. But I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. And it is true that some places are particularly challenging for anyone's serenity, and London Underground does qualify to be one of those places. It is true that you can find out pretty quickly in how well a spiritual state you are. So there is something that you said there just now, which I think is such an important part of the process and of how we deal with things when we're in recovery and we have learned the tools. And that is what you said, of course, about inventory and spot inventory. Now, you spoke of the fact that your life got better quite a bit quite quickly, really, right? And it's an experience that I share and I see with sponsees as well, is that, life can get better really, really quickly once we get into the book and so on. And then you spoke about deserving life without pain, quote unquote, and praying the pain away. Why is it not going faster, and so on and so forth? But of course, we have inventory to help us in these moments. And talk to us a little bit about your inventory, and probably also about how helping others helps you get through these bits and improves your spiritual condition. I know that you do quite a bit of service. So talk to us a little bit about these things, please.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll be the first to say I can be a bit hot and cold with my inventory. It's one of the things that when life gets busy, I can drop, and I notice when I drop it. But my inventory is, it's just a set of questions that my sponsor used and his sponsor used, and it's in a like a WhatsApp kind of like template, which I probably would say that I probably would prefer to write it by hand, but it's not my place to tell my sponsor kind of how he should be doing things better. But really, there are a couple of things that a couple of questions on there that really help me understand, that act as a barometer for whether I'm focused more on myself or whether I'm focusing on the people around me. Like, have I done something nice for someone else today? Have I considered the feeling of other people? Did I keep anything to myself today? That's a big one, where I realize I've been keeping things back from other people. And if I'm trying to control what should and shouldn't be out for public consumption, that's a manipulation, and I'm trying to affect outcomes of situations. I'm trying to control how other people should feel. So these are things that I actually find fill up on days that are quite uneventful in terms of stuff that happens in life. It really is more about kind of my mental world or my spirit, my emotional world on that day. They get a little bit fuller. And helping other people, unfortunately, I'm not sponsoring anyone at the moment. I keep putting my hand up to help, and I speak with newcomers, but it's just not happening, and that's okay. It's all in God's time. I by feeling a bit crap at the moment, I definitely have been calling more newcomers and attending some more meetings, and I feel a lot better for it, because the worst place for me to be right now is in my own head and in my own life. I don't need to think about myself any more than I already am doing, and no good is coming from me focusing on myself. It only makes me feel worse. It only makes the ideas that I have about how to change things just a little bit. Those ideas are insane. Like, you're like, oh, just sell up and go and move in with your mother, or sell something in your house so that you can. I should sell something so that I can afford to buy her XYZ so she doesn't feel so alone. These are just kind of the crap ideas. By focusing on other people or being there for a newcomer, I know maybe I can do something for them, maybe I can't. But again, I'm willing. And I think it's something that in recovery we need to give away what was so generously given to us. And if I am able to give whatever I can to the people in this fellowship and other people in my life, then maybe not today, but maybe in a month, maybe in 6 months, maybe in a year, someone might come back to me and say, "Oh, you really helped me," or "You were kind to me on that day." It could be something as simple as, someone was very upset outside of a meeting, and I offered to hold their umbrella so that they could light a cigarette, and they remember that small act of kindness. I don't know what it is, but I know that by doing that, good is going out into the world, and I'm not focusing on myself. So that can only be for a good thing. It's like I think step 12 is it's exceptionally important to me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Alex, for sharing that. I do wonder if there's anything more British, a British act of kindness than holding someone's umbrella. Um, you were speaking quite a bit about your mother, the fact that she's an alcoholic, and the consequences she's suffering from her illness, and how these affect you. Now, it's a really sensitive and vast topic, but let's delve just a little bit into it, because you alluded to it quite a bit, and it influences your people pleasing. It influences you wanting to make things happen for others that may not really be in your power, if I understand it correctly. So do you want to maybe speak a little bit about what it's like for those people who are listening who are also affected? What it's like in your struggles and your successes with how to deal with this?
Sure.
Having an alcoholic parent.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all I can really say is, it's tough. It was tough when I was a kid, and it continues to be tough now. The thing that's tough about it now kind of is in two parts. There's the first thing, which is something that is happening now. If she has a new accident, or if she calls while drunk, what do I need to do in that situation to try to protect myself? And the answer is recovery. The answer is always more recovery. The answer is kindness and not engaging with negative behavior, and not trying to give more than I can to it. The second bit that's hard, which I struggle with more, is the bit that I'm responsible for, which is the stories that I play in my head over and over again. If she has, I've just read this fantastic book, which I do think that everyone, I read it and I was like, God, this is just dripping with the 12 steps. It's called The Courage to Be Disliked. And it's all about it's about a young student who's having trouble finding his place in the world, finding a sense of connection with the people around him, having a purpose in life. And he basically believes that he doesn't have a purpose, and he doesn't have a sense of self-esteem because people don't like him and the world's out to get him, and he just wants to lock himself away and not try. In this book, they talk about the fact that nothing in the past is real. In terms of the passage of time, nothing that's gone before us is real. The only thing that exists in this current moment is this current moment. And it's something I've been able to really reinforce to myself through meditation. Like, the second that has just passed, we will never get back. And if we're waiting for the second that's coming, we're not truly being present, that we really only can focus on what is here and now. And if I am playing stories in my head again and again of things that have happened to me in the past, I've got to think, well, why am I playing these stories in my head again and again? They happened in the past. They're not real. They're not happening right now. So why do I keep playing them again and again? And this book, it talks about us looking at our problems less from a point of view of, I think, what we're used to doing when we're talking to a friend, or when you talk about like psychologists, or what you think those sessions are like, where it's like, oh, well, I act this way because my mother was always very blah to me, or I had a problem with my dad, or someone told me, a teacher told me, it's always like, I behave this way because of something that's in the past. That was true the first time it happened, but this book likes to say, well, it's maybe been 10 years since that thing happened. I can't keep using that as the excuse. Really, because, if you're saying that, oh, I'm behaving in this way, if I'm saying, oh, I've got like drinking and drugs, for example, my mother was my main reason why I was using. Like, you would drink and use like me if you'd been through what I'd been through. But, if that is true, then the answer to me stopping drinking and using is that, oh, well, then we need to erase that from your history and make sure that it never happened. That's impossible. No one has a time machine. But if we frame it as, well, why do I continue to do these things? What's the benefit to myself? And if I think, well, actually, maybe I play these stories over in my head so that I have an excuse not to try and go out and achieve things for myself, or I have a fear of rejection from other people. So if I use these narratives of things that have happened in my past to say, oh, I don't want to go and connect with other people because I've been burned before, then I'm essentially saying I'm actively trying to not connect with other people, so I feel isolated because that feels safer than going to say hello to another person. I don't know, whatever your thing is. But in terms of that second piece of the stories I play over again in my head, I really do try to think, well, why am I making this difficult for myself? Why am I playing these narratives over again and again? And I don't have an answer for it yet, unfortunately. But I know that I'm not going to find an answer to it if I'm spiritually sick. So by continuing to share about where I'm at in meetings and with fellows, I'm hoping that it will be revealed to me. I think the reason at the moment that I'm telling myself these stories is so that I can be in enough pain that I have an excuse to not go in and be involved with her, because that's a little bit easier for me to deal with than having the courage to actually say, no, I cannot go and deal with this, because that feels quite violent or headstrong for me, which it isn't, but progress, not perfection. I will get to a point where I can assert my boundaries and my needs and wants better than I can now. But it's a process, and it's one that I'm happy to have started, even if I'm not the finished article yet, or if I don't think I'll ever be. I think if you think that one day you'll reach a point where you're done, then you're done. You won't get there. It's a process of continuous. I don't want to say improvement, but learning, growth, and development, and we'll have setbacks.
Yeah, thank you, Alex, and thank you for letting us into this world a little bit of where it becomes so difficult to draw what to many people might be healthy boundaries, but where that might just be such a difficult act, and one that it seems to be so fraught. So thank you for sharing there. That was wonderful. Something else that stood out to me in your share, which I thought was really interesting, you spoke of how, so honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. And this was something that I really got told early on in recovery quite a lot by a lot of people, and it's only right that that we hear it and that we adhere to it, and also examine ourselves, which one of those three is the one that I struggle with the most. I've often spoken about that I struggled mostly with open-mindedness, or in my case, I'd even say open-heartedness, because we have a disease of the heart. And now that you're sober and you have been sober for a little while, how is the how does that translate into your daily life now, or into your recovery now, where it's not anymore about, I need to get another week or another month, but rather you have done the steps, you are sober. How does how work for you now that you're sober?
I think we endeavor to practice these principles in all of our affairs. I try and I think the dangerous thing for me is compartmentalizing, where I think, I can behave, the rooms are the only place that I feel safe. I don't ever want to feel like that. I want to try and create a safe space for myself no matter where I am. And I'm lucky that I've been able to create that space with friends, and also in my place of work, which is very scary when you have to go to your boss and say, like, I'm really not feeling good at the moment, and it's a mental health thing, and you might not get it, and you might think that I'm weak and not capable, but I value myself more than the job that you pay me to do, and but you best believe that if you want the best out of me, that you're not getting it right now. So if you give me a little bit of time, I'll be able to go away and come back and deliver whatever I need to deliver for them. Honesty is scary, but the nice thing about recovery as well, and the relationship with the higher power, is that where I have fear, God can grant me courage. And if I am afraid to go and do these things in work, I do find it quite easy to speak to God and speak to my sponsor, because you can't just go asking God for help with every little thing, because it's possible that the little thing I need help with is actually a really terrible idea. So have the idea, check it with another human being in recovery, and then ask God. Is my general process. But the open-mindedness is the thing that I struggle with the most, because I think most people, including myself, we all like to say that we're open-minded. But I think generally what we mean is I'm open-minded to people that think like me, as opposed to being open to ideas that or opinions that are different from my own. I think it's the true difference between sympathy and empathy. Sympathy being that you're able to feel the feelings of another person because either you've been there or you can imagine how that person would feel and you agree with it. Empathy being I can put myself in the shoes of a person who's in an entirely different situation from me, and I'm able to treat them with a level of understanding. And I can, even if I don't agree with their actions, I can put myself in their shoes and see their motives, even if I disagree. So open-mindedness is the thing that I struggle with the most. It's a difficult time at the moment globally, politically speaking. And I'm not going to go into specific political beliefs, but everyone has them, and it seems that everyone is at odds at the moment, and I do find it very difficult to see the other camp's point of view. But I know that unless I'm able to treat people with a degree of curiosity and kindness and openness, then all we are going to have is the ability to either get into riots or get into fights with each other, as opposed to having a conversation to be able to truly kind of heal and move past something. But yeah, that's also I'm not going to hide from you. There's also another part of why I do feel a little bit like like the world is on top of me at the moment and things are sticking to me, because it's like I've got stuff with my family and then this isn't going well and then the world's on fire. It is sticking with me at the moment, and my open-mindedness is the thing that's maybe not working as well as I would like it to there.
Yeah. Thank you, Alex, for sharing. One last question that I have is something that I value quite a lot in my own recovery is my daily practice. So my meditation, my prayer, my evening inventory, and all these sort of things. Talk to us a little bit, if you don't mind, about your daily practice, which is such an important part of what we do.
Yeah. So I wake up every day an untreated addict and alcoholic. And that also means that for the first God knows how many seconds or minutes I'm awake, I do forget that I'm an addict in recovery. And so I will get up and make a coffee and make it to the shower. And it's always somewhere around the water, just getting warm enough to enjoy the shower, that I go, oh shit, I need to pray. And so when I get out of the shower, that's when I sit down and I have my quiet time. And I like to just I used to like to go and sit. I live on the 9th floor, looking out over the Thames in London, and it's a very nice place to sit and contemplate the world. But now I've been honestly just kind of like looking at my wardrobe, because I don't want to distract myself with anything apart from what is in my head, and I don't try and judge anything that's there or immediately jump to a decision. I just want to kind of note what's going on for myself. And then I'll go and have I'll do some meditation. In the morning, I don't give myself enough time, another place where I could be better. And so that's generally about kind of 5 minutes. And I do use an app for that. And then as I kind of go throughout my day, I think I do end up getting a little bit disconnected as I end up kind of throwing myself into work. But I'm very grateful for little things like I have reminders on my phone at 11:11 and 15:15. That's quarter past. That's 3:15 in the afternoon for our American friends. That's just tell me that I will be done. That kind of pops up for me on all of my devices because I do forget frequently. And then I try and make it to at least 3 meetings a week, but that's not. I don't think that's enough for me at the moment, if I'm honest. But it's what my sponsor told me to do when I first came in. So we had a minimum of 3 that we agreed to. And then when I come home, I have just for today the NA book, which sits in our corridor here, and I'll give that a read before bed. I like to speak to fellows. I'm very grateful for the people who send me their gratitude every day. And then at night, I will do my inventory and a much longer meditation to end the day. But I know thank God, and no matter how bad a day has been, I thank God every day for keeping me clean and sober. Because no matter what goes on in my life, it's truly a gift that I'm able to get through any of it without being while being sober. Yeah, honestly, like it dumbfounds me. Thing that's important to me as well is I have a glass, like a pint glass, like a beer glass, by the side of my bed that is full of little pieces of gratitude, little things I've written on a piece of paper, and I look at that every night before I go to bed. And I like to think to myself that if I wanted to have a drink, that I would need to take all of the gratitude in that glass and I would need to dunk it out onto the floor. Kind of serves as a nice visual reminder of what I stand to lose. One thing I'd like to just maybe share is that, I truly have, by going through this program, I have felt the step 9 promises come true for me in my life in every sense of them. I have all of these things on the outside that I never thought I would get. Partner, good job, blah blah blah. But the fact that I have access to peace every single day, that always I didn't ever think that was possible. And yeah, there was something I wanted to say there, but I'm sure it will come back to me in a minute. But I'm just incredibly grateful. I'm just incredible.
Thank you, Alex. And I think no better place to end than with experiencing daily peace. I don't think there could be anything more beautiful than that. So big thanks to Alex for a fantastic Recode 12 weekly speaker meeting. If you missed your question or if you have more, consider joining our WhatsApp community. Email recode12pod@gmail.com to join the conversation. If you haven't already, please rate and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts. It's a powerful way to work your step 12. Next Friday, I'll be back to the world as we know it with Justin taking the meeting, and we'll have JW sharing on his topic, staying clean and sober through life's ups and downs, which sounds really interesting and amazing. If you'd like to be considered as a future Recode 12 speaker, please send an email to recode12pod@gmail.com and we can get it set up. And now let's launch off into the rest of our day with Alex reciting the St. Francis prayer.
Lord, make me a channel of thy peace, that where there is hatred, I may bring love, that where there is wrong, I may bring the spirit of forgiveness, that where there is discord, I may bring harmony, that where there is error, I may bring truth, that where there is doubt, I may bring faith, that where there is despair, I may bring hope, and that where there are shadows, I may bring light, that where there is sadness, I may bring joy. Lord, grant that I may seek rather to comfort than be comforted, to understand than to be understood, to love than to be loved. For it is by self-forgetting that one finds, it is by forgiving that one is forgiven, and it is by dying that one awakens to eternal life.
So be it. Thank you so much, Alec. Alex, there is one who has all power, that one is God. May you find God now. Keep coming back, and when you do, come all the way in, sit all the way down, and let's trudge this road of happy destiny together. Thank you all for having me and for allowing me to be of service.
There was a man put his hand by the side of his mouth, and he wanted to scream, but the sound never came out. So he reached for the bottle to wash the pain away, 'cause what he wanted so badly was to live a different way. And all of his problems and all of his pain filled up the puddle and rose with the rain. His ship kept on sinking to the bottom of the lake. For certain that he was just a fake, just a fake. Was a man put his hand by the side of his mouth, and he wanted to share, but only lies ever came out. So he reached for the needle to numb the pain inside, and the truth that he yearned for shriveled up and died. And all of his problems, all of his pain filled up the puddle, rose with the rain. The ship kept on sinking to the bottom of the lake. He was just a fake, just a the side of his mouth as he read from the book, only truth spilled out. So he reached for a power to help him through the night. 'Cause what lives in the dark